Hey everyone, this is Cypher here, welcome back, or welcome to my channel. So in today's video, we're going to be going over all of the changes that we got in the 9.0.0 update in Dead by Daylight, plus 9.0.1 and 9.0.2 towards the end. And a quick disclaimer, which I'm actually adding in after recording this video, guys. Yes, this is probably up very late by the time you guys are seeing this. I did record this only like 2 weeks-ish after the update dropped, so it was pretty recent at the time. I understand now that it's been a month since 9.0.0 dropped. The other ones are a bit more recent, at least 9.0.2. And look, I know I'm going to get some comments bashing me for being late to this. I've had that with pretty much most of my previous update videos, and honestly I would have probably dropped this just like I did with the previous update, which I didn't cover on the channel. But honestly, since this has taken me so long to edit, I'm just gonna commit to it, and if it receives a negative response, then it is what it is, I guess. Instead of trying to primarily inform you guys with this, I'm just going to be covering this more as a discussion video, just because there's some really great and just interesting changes here in general that are very major to the game. All of the changes discussed in this video still apply. I know 9.1.0 is out right now with the Walking Dead PTB, but I don't cover PTB changes on my channel. I don't see a point in covering changes that haven't been finalized because they're likely to get tweaked again for the live release anyway. So just keep that in mind, guys. As it currently stands, these changes are the latest ones in the game. Hopefully you guys can enjoy it regardless. But anyways, I'm just going to quickly say this video is going to be a long one. So fasten your seatbelts, guys. Let's get into it without further ado. So we're going to start off first and foremost with the PTB to live changes. You already know we got the new chapter. I've made 2 videos on this now, both a PTB coverage and a live coverage, so be sure to go and check out both of those if you haven't already. But starting off with the changes from the PTB, we have bot improvements. So survivor bots no longer try to use disabled or occupied security doors now, and survivor bots now try to remove the animatronics axe during chase. That's good. We then have the new killer perks Help Wanted and Haywire, which have been slightly tweaked. I did actually cover this in my live coverage, but we'll go over it again anyway in case you guys haven't watched that video. So with Help Wanted, they've had no gameplay change, but they've updated the description to match that of Machine Learning, which was also updated. That is, of course, the perk for the Singularity, which does a similar thing where you kick a gen that then becomes compromised, and then when that gen is completed later on, you get value. So they've just added a bit more leveling out with both of the descriptions there. And then with Haywire, which is the only one that's had a proper tweak, they've increased the minimum regression threshold to 80%, which was 50. I'm not really a big fan of this, to be honest, because by which point the exit's pretty much already opened, and then they've increased the regression speed to 80, 90, or 100% based on perk rarity, which before was 40, 45, or 50%. So it now regresses a lot quicker, which is nice, I guess. But as a whole, I'm not really happy that they made that so high. Moving on now to killer updates. We've only had one right at the very end, which is to one of the artist add-ons, but the rest of these are to the animatronic and mainly the animatronics add-ons. So starting off with a base kit change, they increased the cooperative projectile removal to 5 seconds, which was 3 seconds. So what it means by that is, of course, when a survivor removes the axe, being the projectile here, from you. So if they do it for you, it now takes longer than it did before, which is annoying for them, I guess. But for the killer, that's obviously a W. Moving on now to the add-ons. So first and foremost, for Help Wanted add, the preview distance grows faster now. Okay, so this add-on apparently shows the starting trajectory of the fire axe. Okay, so that just means that now the distance at which, I guess, the little dot or the little cross, I'm not sure what it uses. It's a bit similar to like the nurse with, what is it, the Pinecone add-on? I'm not too sure, but the one that basically puts a little dot that, you know, moves across your screen when you're using a blink. I imagine it's similar to that. So yeah, they've just made that a bit quicker there, I guess, whatever. And for the restaurant menu add-on, they've increased the effect to 20%, which was 10%. I am going to have to keep the wiki page up here because I really still don't know what a lot of these add-ons do, and since they don't mention it in the patch notes, I will have to keep that up just for reference. But that add-on apparently reduces the minimum retrieval time by 20%, so that's when the fire axe is embedded in the environment. That's good. We then have a change to rotten pizza, where they've increased the effect to 100% from 50%. So apparently this would increase the duration of killer instinct from the fire axe by 50% before, but now they've doubled it, so that's very good. For the ripped curtain, they've decreased the duration to 60 seconds from 70 seconds, meaning now you're going to get 10 seconds less of the hemorrhage and mangled status effects on survivors hit with a fire axe. That's a bit of a shame, but there we go. That's the first nerf we've had so far. The next one we have is for greasy paper plate. So they've increased the effect to 15%, which was 10% before, meaning the survivor's removal time is slightly longer there. And for the office phone, they've increased the range to 24 meters from 12 meters, which is quite an insane buff there. They've doubled that. So now survivors who are within the range of the axe, who are then afflicted with oblivious and broken if they're injured, that's been increased now. So you can probably get more people with that, which is great. And it now reveals the aura of the axe to survivors within this range, which is the slight downside. So they now know where the axe is. So this is kind of like what they did with the perk Weave Attunement, where the range on where the items would reveal like the survivors and stuff, that was increased, but then the survivors could actually see where their dropped items were, meaning that they could basically avoid your perk if they knew that you're using it. It sounds like they've kind of given it that treatment here, but with this add-on, which is, you know, it's a shame, but hey, I guess it's fair to the survivors, right? And it now decreases the time required to remove the axe from another survivor by 50%, which is yet again another nerf. So there's two nerfs we got there, but hey, the range is bigger, which is nice. Moving on to Bonnie's guitar strings, it now decreases the duration of the undetectable status effect upon exiting the security door by 50%. This add-on apparently shows the intensity of generator auras revealed by the survivor's current repair progress, and in the PTB it would just do that. Now it halves the duration of the undetectable that you get to 10 seconds. This does go on to be nerfed again in 9.0.2, so just take that in mind. Then for Foxy's hook, they've decreased the haste effect to 7%, which was 10%, and they've decreased the haste duration to 3 seconds, which was 6 seconds. So you're getting half the amount of time as well on that effect, which really kind of sucks. Although it's worth mentioning, they do go on to revert the second part of that add-on in 9.0.2, which is kind of funny. This, of course, is the effect that you get when you're inside the area of effect of the fire axe when you've thrown it. Then for Purple Guy Drawing, they've decreased the rush action aura duration to 3 seconds from 4, and they've increased the axe removal aura duration to 6 seconds, which was 4 seconds before. This, of course, is for survivors who are afflicted with the axe if they've been hit with the axe. So yeah, this has also been nerfed. Then for the loot bag, it no longer causes incapacitation anymore, or incapacitated effect, and it applies exit gate blocker effect to all survivors within 12 meters now. That is actually a W change. I'm really happy with that. I really do like the loot bag add-on. It's probably one of my favorites out of the selection because I have used it the most. For those who don't know what incapacitated is, because I sometimes forget what this means, it's basically a debuffing effect that prevents survivors from performing certain interactions. So if the survivor has the axe in them, they're not going to be prevented from doing like heals, let's say, or doing other stuff too. But now the blocker effect will apply to everyone else within their range, which is pretty lethal actually, because 12 meters, you have to think about how big the exit gate is. It's not that big in the first place. It's not very wide. So every person in their range in the exit gate, if they start getting cocky and their teammates got an axe still stuck in them, like they're kind of screwed. Obviously, you're not going to be able to get all of them. A couple of them would end up, you know, crawling out most likely. But I'm trying to imagine that in a situation. It's kind of like a temporary blood warden, which I think is pretty cool. So I've got no issue with that personally, but I'm sure there'll be survivors who hate that. Then for Celebrate Poster, they've now decreased the haste to 12%, which was 20%. Jeez, okay. So they nearly almost halved that in value. They removed the distance-based deactivation, and the effect applies to all players within 32 meters now, which is a new function. So apparently this add-on is when you've embedded the fire axe in a survivor, that these effects will then take place. So before, both you and the survivor would benefit from the effects of that survivor that's been hit with the axe, and you get the 20% haste, and then you'd get the increased vaulting speed of 20%, which would also affect them too. And then both effects would last until the fire axe was removed, or the distance between you and the survivor was exceeding 32 meters. The vaulting speed is still the same. It just isn't a deactivation based on distance anymore. You get less haste, and it now affects everybody else within 32 meters of that survivor, which is pretty wild, because now everyone else is going to get that haste and vaulting increase. Moving on to the Faz coin add-on, they've set the terror radius size to 24 meters instead of copying the current terror radius size, which is a rework apparently. So before, in the PTB, when you would throw the fire axe, the following effects would be applied. You'd cause the fire axe to emit a copy of your terror radius until it's retrieved, and then grants the undetectable status effect for 10 seconds. Now, when you throw the fire axe, it causes the fire axe to emit a copy of your terror radius until it's retrieved, and this terror radius is set to 24 meters. So basically, your terror radius as a whole, say if you were to alter it with perks or whatever, that before would also be mirrored, I guess, with the add-on. You'd have whatever terror radius you're getting at any time applied to the axe, whilst now it's strictly set to 24 meters, which is actually just the base terror radius for the animatronic anyway. And you're still getting the undetectable for 10 seconds like before. So not a whole lot has really changed there. Apparently this was a quality of life change and it isn't actually registered as really a buff or a nerf. The previous mechanic had the side effect of the fire axe mimicking the terror radius exactly, including when it was suppressed by undetectable, which I think I did notice a few times when I was playing the PTB. At least they've fixed that now. And then finally, for the animatronic add-ons, for the iridescent remnant, they've increased the effect range to 32 meters from 16, so that's been insanely buffed there. That's double. They've increased the effect duration to 12 seconds from 8, so it's had a 4-second buff, and it no longer blocks window vaults, unfortunately. That is the one downside of this change. This add-on is the one that when you travel to a security door, it would block all upright pallets within 32 meters of the security door. Before, it would only block upright pallets within 16 meters and for 8 seconds. Now you're getting longer and further distance, which is really good. I like this add-on a lot. Before, it was a little bit weak. Oh, and then for the final thing, I thought it was one artist add-on change, but it's actually talking about the artist in general. So all of the artist add-ons have been reverted to before the 9.0.0 PTB, because during the PTB, they obviously must have done a shit ton of changes to the artist, and they've just gone back on all of them, which is kind of crazy. Apparently, these add-ons were the automatic drawing add-on, the Untitled Agony, the Matthias's baby shoes, the ink egg, the severed hands, and the iridescent feather. I'm not going to go over all of that because we're not going into the PTB changes here. That's not what you guys are here for. I have no opinion on that personally. And the rest after this are bug fixes. So we are now going to get into the main changes. God damn, that took me so long. Starting out, we have quality of life improvements. First and foremost, we have the AFK Crow system update, which I will quickly say does get changed again in 9.0.1. So nothing here is concrete. Just take these as I'm reading them with a grain of salt. But the survivors are considered AFK when not interacting within the last 10 seconds, which is kind of crazy because before you would have to stand around for like, what, upwards of 30 seconds, I'd assume. I don't actually remember what the time was before exactly, but I know it was a long time, that's for sure. Here it was 10 seconds, that's it. And then while AFK, survivors accrue AFK points, during which crows gradually begin spawning above the survivor, beginning with 1 and capping at 3. AFK points increase more slowly while moving or while in proximity to the killer. After 90 seconds, the survivor reaches 3 crows and loud noises trigger at regular intervals. Additionally, the survivor loses collision with other players for 10 seconds, and completing interactions removes AFK points. Crows are removed as AFK points decrease, and this system is disabled when the hatch spawns or when the endgame collapse is triggered by any means. So basically, say if you're moving around, you're still moving, so technically you're not AFK, but you're, say, just not interacting with anything. You're at like the corner of the map or something behind a rock, and you're just kind of moving around a little bit. Maybe you're moving around the map hiding, but since you're not interacting, the game's now going to consider you an AFK player, which is kind of wild. There is a lot of situations where I've played in games and I have no idea where the survivors are because they're just hiding from me. They're not interacting with anything. Okay, so from looking it up, apparently to do with the collision thing, that is to do with survivors intentionally griefing teammates with body blocking. So now if you're afflicted with 3 crows, you can't intentionally block your teammates, and if the killer are 3 down, for example, they'll now just be able to run through you, I guess. So you just become a ghost at 3 crows, which is kind of crazy. And according to the dev note, this will also prevent the killer from holding survivors hostage too. And this is actually listed as an extreme hiding update, which I find kind of funny because that really is what it is at the end of the day. If you're hit with AFK crows, like unless you're stood right under a hook, chances are you're just trying to annoy the killer. Honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about that as a whole. I feel like that is a better system. Again, I do think survivors can still abuse this whole hiding thing by just jumping in lockers. That is technically an interaction, I guess, right? Unless they don't include that, because there are interactions and then there's interactions that actually contribute to the game, like doing heals, like cleansing totems or doing gens, that kind of thing. I'm not sure if a locker is held in the same regard as one one of those interactions, but I think as a whole, it could do with an extra tweak, but it's actually not too bad. I'm not against this entirely. The only thing I find a little bit weird is the whole not interacting within the last 10 seconds. That is really stupid. Does that now mean that when you're just running around and you're not interacting with stuff, that you're now going to be considered AFK? Like, what is the sort of limit here? That's the thing I'm a little bit unsure about, because I haven't tested this out in a game yet, because you're not going to be interacting every 10 seconds. You could be running 10 seconds to get to the other end of the map to do a gen. So that's certainly interesting. Moving on now, we have some Bloodweb spending improvements. Now, I did already cover this in the PTB FNAF video. I don't imagine this has changed since then, because it doesn't say anywhere in the PTB to live changes, but they've added an auto Bloodweb button available now after prestiging any one character for the first time, and this enables players to automatically progress to a selected character level, blood points emitting. So obviously it can go right up to the highest amount that you can afford with the blood points that you have. Any amount up to there you can mass prestige, which I think is really sick. I'm so happy they've added this, because they've needed this for a long time in my opinion. Like, the whole being able to click the button in the middle and it just immediately completes that whole web, that was one thing that was really great, but this is definitely much better now. And then you do get this new screen now that gives you all of the add-ons, all the items, everything you've basically unlocked from those upgrades, which is great. So they've removed the following pop-ups across all other characters after they have been shown for the first time. So the Bloodweb introductory pop-up, the unpredictability pop-up, and the perk slot unlocks has been removed as well. This is a major W. I'm really happy for this update. Moving on now to disconnection penalties. Disconnection penalties are now based on your last 20 matches played, and each disconnect in the set of 20 matches counts as a disconnection penalty point. Disconnection penalty points decrease as you play matches without disconnecting, which previously decayed at the rate of 1 point per day. I did not like the previous system. The way it worked before was just so messy, because you could have had several games that day which just were absolutely terrible. You were just being bullied by your teammates. The killer could have been just hard tunneling and camping you. You could have just been held hostage because there's a lot of hackers for whatever reason. I barely encounter them, but some people do. There could have been a range of different reasons. Maybe your internet went out and you just got disconnected, or your electricity, your power went out. That's happened to me once or twice. You would just have to face the consequences. The way it stacked before was insane, and I get it, you're not really supposed to leave matches. It's not exactly helpful to your teammates. It's bad sportsmanship, but I don't think any other game nearly punishes you as bad as this. Say if you're in like Siege Ranked, if you guys have played Rainbow Six Siege, that's different. That's a ranked match setting. You're obviously going to really badly affect the rank of your teammates, potentially, if you just leave and don't come back. Like, that is a completely different game mode, and so it makes sense there. But for something like DBD, which is supposedly for fun, there isn't like a real reason that you should have to stay in a match. The fact that now there's a threshold and it's based off 20 matches, I think that actually allows for a lot more nuance in people's reasonings for leaving. And I think now, just for my own personal reason, I'm not even gonna fucking lie to you guys, sometimes I just can't be arsed, or my game is going really badly and I just don't want to play anymore. Being for real with you guys, I just think that's cool that you could just leave now, and as long as you're not abusing that system too much, you're probably going to be fine. You can leave a couple games as long as you're playing some other ones too. Really big fan of that. I know I went on for a bit there, but I had quite a bit to say about that one. That is a great change in my opinion. Moving on now to the gamma setting change. I did get hit with this immediately when I was doing the PTB video. I did cut that out, but yeah, we got a gamma setting now. So upon launch, the new gamma calibration pop-up will be presented to all players. This is a lot like Call of Duty and a lot of other games when you boot them up, and this visual setting can be accessed at all times via the settings menu under the graphics tab if you want to go and change it down the line. That's the nice thing, they've added that. Moving on to the going next prevention. So they've added a system to detect survivors who intentionally die early in the match. When a survivor is determined to be doing this, they receive a disconnection penalty and lose 1 full grade. Ooh, okay. The attempt unhook ability is now only available in the following circumstances. 2 survivors remain in the trial. A survivor's luck is increased with an offering. A survivor has equipped the slippery meat or up the anti-perk. And when more than 2 survivors remain, they may struggle while on a hook, but with no chance of escape or penalty for failure. And letting 2 struggle skill checks pass without any input will no longer instantly kill you. So yeah, if you're going to try and use that to just get yourself yourself killed immediately on second hook. Sorry, unfortunately, that's not going to work anymore. And the abandoned score event, in brackets given to survivors when a teammate disconnects, is now also granted when a survivor gives up via this system. And they've increased the abandoned score event to 2,000 blood points, which was 600. So now if a survivor is disconnected or gives up in this new system, I guess everyone else on the team is going to get a way higher blood point score event than before, just to kind of slightly make up for the fact. Now, yeah, I don't really have a huge opinion on this, but from what I'm reading, this is great. There are people I've noticed before who do this go next thing, this strategy, if you want to call it that. I don't really face this a whole lot, but there are definitely people in my games who I've seen just clearly fucking around. They're not really trying. They're clearly trying to get themselves killed, and then they just start removing themselves on hook immediately. This is definitely something that tends to happen a lot more when they go against, say, a nurse or somebody playing the Skull Merchant, which are valid reasons. I'm not even gonna lie to you. The Skull Merchant is so fucking boring and cringy, and the nurse is just kind of OP, and a lot of people who play the nurse are a pain in the ass too. So, you know, people's reasoning, however, is a different thing. I can definitely understand some people's reasons for going next. Some people just do it intentionally, and I don't know if that's just to try and get the bare minimum blood points or whatever. I don't really know what the reason is for that, to be honest, other than just being a nuisance and avoiding a killer that you don't like. But nonetheless, this feature now exists, and honestly, I'm a fan. The whole unhook ability being removed, I can't really say I'm extremely upset about that, because like I say, it's still available within certain circumstances. You just can't now try to start removing yourself from the hook and having, like, say, a 1% chance of getting off with like 99% chance you'll just die. I never really liked that whole thing anyway. Like, unless your luck is really increased or you're using a perk like Deliverance, that feature really didn't need to be there necessarily. I feel like the whole point of being on the hook is that you're there, and now you have to rely that your teammates unhook you, since it is a teamwork-based game. Moving on now to the Mori update. Okay, yeah, so this one I've actually noticed too, whilst I was playing the PTB especially. So near the end of a trial, the killer can now activate a Mori when 2 survivors are alive, and the following conditions occur simultaneously, in brackets up from 1 survivor alive, because before it was just whoever the last person was. If you downed them, you could Mori them. So now if 1 survivor is hooked and in the struggle phase, and 1 survivor is in the dying state, you can now use this. So yeah, the person on hook basically is showing no chance of being able to get off. They haven't used a perk like Deliverance, and nobody's going to be able to unhook them, so they're already fucked basically, and you've got the one other person downed already. That now allows for you do a Mori on that person. And when the above criteria are met, starting a Mori on a survivor will now immediately start the sacrifice of the remaining hooked survivor in the struggle phase. So they're just going to immediately die the same way if you had everybody on hook at the same time and they all reached second hook stage. None of them have a chance of getting off. They all immediately die, right? It just completely cuts their meter off and just gets rid of them. That's what's going to happen now with this, which makes sense. And there's a dev note which says the change means that you do not need to wait for the hooked survivors to be sacrificed to be able to trigger a Mori. Performing a Mori with a single survivor remaining will continue to function as it did before. I have no issue with that. I think that's great. For offerings updates, all realm or map offerings now grant a flat 20% chance to be sent to the associated realm or map. Ooh, okay. So it's not 100% anymore. And duplicate realm and map offerings no longer stack. So that's unfortunate, I guess. And then most gameplay altering offerings are now treated as secret during the loading screen reveal. So it now no longer just affects things like Moris and Shrouds and stuff like that, the ones that make survivors like start together or end up separated. It now affects most gameplay altering offerings. So I guess, does that now affect the hook offerings too? Like the ones that separate them or make them closer together, are those now included under that? Personally, I'm kind of for this, and I like that that's now still allowing for some RNG. Although I say that, but I'm going to be a bit of a hypocrite, guys. I do also kind of hate it at the same time. Is that weird to say? Because like sometimes I really do want to get a map, because obviously now with the new chapter, for example, we did get the pizzeria map game mode, and as long as they do that for new chapters going forward, then I have no issue with this. But in the past, since that type of game mode didn't exist, the only way you could get the new map, apart from relying on the natural map pick, was putting on a map offering, which would give you a 100% chance. So basically how I see it is, as long as there is the game mode to test out the new map, I have no issue with this update. But if it was just an exclusive thing they did for the FNAF chapter, then I kind of hate this. Moving on now to spawn rules. So survivors now spawn within 12 meters of each other by default when possible. So if, say, they spawn in a tiny building and there's an obstacle or something that's going to get in the way, they might have to slightly break that rule, but essentially now you will always spawn within each other's range. Survivors now spawn on the same floor as each other by default when possible again, and the survivor offering Shroud of Binding has been replaced with a new offering, the Shroud of Separation. Its new effect causes survivors to spawn apart from one another, so now it's considered a extra thing that you want to be separate from your teammates, whilst before it was considered like better to want to spawn with your teammates because then you can all work on one gen together, for example, in the same area of the map. So yeah, if you now want to be separate so that you can all get started on different generators or whatever reason you may have, then that's how it's going to work now. And any owned Shrouds of Binding are converted to Shrouds of Separation now. And the killer offering Shroud of Separation, which would naturally, separate the survivors so that they don't have that upper hand advantage at the start of the match, it's now been replaced with a new offering, the Shroud of Vanishing, and its new effect causes all survivor spawn offerings to be rejected by the entity. Any owned Shrouds of Separation are converted to Shrouds of Vanishing. So the same that happened on the survivor side will happen on the killer side too. I don't really know how I feel about the Shroud of Vanishing offering. I kind of see this as a little bit useless, the same way the green hand offering that would essentially reject all of the map offerings. That's going to be really useless now. I hope they'll remove that, because actually now with the map offerings only giving you a flat 20% chance of getting that map, I feel like even that offering's kind of useless now, because they've already got like an 80% chance of getting a different map even with a map offering. But the same thing with this here, like with the Shroud of Vanishing, like you're going to have to assume that your teammates will be using a Shroud of Separation. I just feel like both of those are kind of useless, but they exist if you want to use them, so whatever, I guess. That's all they've done for that. Then moving on to Spectator mode, they've increased the Spectator slots in custom game to 5, so more people can spectate. Okay, that's cool. Hotkeys have been assigned in Spectator mode to make changing between players easier. Looping between players using the top bar while in Spectator mode can now be done via hotkey, and they've added a controller support for the above improvements. Moving over to voiceover language setting, the voice language is a new setting added under the general tab, and French can now be chosen for voiceovers on selected characters, including Sable Ward, Gabriel Soma, the good guy or Chucky, the good gal or Tiffany, Ellen Ripley, and Rain are now available. So I don't know why those ones in particular. I guess those voice actors must have just agreed to doing French, I guess, and the rest of them haven't yet. I don't know. I find that kind of funny that the only one available is French. Like, they don't have Spanish or any other big languages. They just have that one so far, but I'm sure they'll go on to add more as time goes on. Finally, for a performance change, they have improved the optimization at game launch to reduce instances of stuttering in game. Okay, moving on now to gameplay features. Guys, I've been going for over an hour here, so please smash the like button right now. I know this video is not probably going to be an hour at this point in time for you guys, but just know that I put a lot of effort into these videos, guys, and it does take me a long time to edit this one especially. So if you're enjoying it so far, please go down below and drop a like. I'd really appreciate it. For killer updates, starting off, we have the Lich or Vecna. There is a lot of changes here. Holy crap. This is just base kit, guys. We've got add-ons too, don't you worry. There is only one slight change at the end, which is for the twins. This is mainly a Vecna update. So all of the Lich's spells are now available at the start of a trial, which before was a 15-second starting cooldown. So I think there was like a 15-second wait period or something like that before. So that's nice. You can just get straight into using them. That's great. They've decreased the Dispelling Sphere cooldown to 30 seconds from 35. They've decreased the Fly cooldown to 20 seconds, which was 25, so you're also getting that 5 seconds quicker. They've decreased the Mage Hand cooldown to 35 seconds from 40 seconds, so also 5 seconds quicker, and the same with the Flight of Damned cooldown, which is now 30 seconds from 35. So all of those have received a small buff there, which is really cool. They've removed the interaction time locking the killer's camera when activating a Dispelling Sphere, which was 2 seconds before. Okay. They've updated the Dispelling Sphere's projectile to move quickly when first cast and slowing down over the following 3 seconds in order to spend less time revealing the area immediately in front of the killer. That makes sense, of course. You're not going to find anybody right in front of you, so they've increased the killer instinct duration once survivors exit Dispelling Sphere to 5 seconds, which was 3 seconds. Ooh, okay, so you're getting a little bit more value there. 2 seconds isn't a huge amount of time, but it could be quite useful. They've increased the end interaction time of Fly to 2.75 seconds from 2.5. They've increased the duration of Fly to 5 seconds from 4, so you're going to be able to get an extra second in there of flying. I love flying around as Vecna. It's so much fun. They fixed a bug which prevented the Lich from reaching the intended movement speed, in brackets 8 meters per second, when casting fly. I don't know why that's listed here though. That should be in the bug fixes, but whatever. They've fixed a bug which made the survivors' pallet interaction delay inconsistent for both killers and survivors after lifting a pallet with Mage Hand. They've increased the duration of the survivor pallet interaction delay after lifting a pallet with Mage Hand to 0.55 seconds, which was 0.15 seconds. They've increased the Lich's aura reveal duration to 2 seconds when the associated spell is cast for each magic item, which was 1.5 seconds before. And then finally, they've increased the duration of haste to 4 seconds for survivors equipped with boots or gauntlets of the interloper when the Lich activates Mage Hand, which was 3.5 seconds before. There we go. Those are all the Lich's base kit changes. Now we're going to get into add-ons. Oh my god, there's so much to read. Okay, so the Trickster's Glove add-on now increases the time Mage Hand holds a pallet up by 0.3 seconds, which was 0.5 before. The Crystal Ball now increases the Killer Instinct effect by an additional 1 second when a survivor is revealed by the Dispelling Sphere, which was 3 seconds before. The Potion of Speed add-on now decreases the period where you cannot attack after casting Fly by 0.15 seconds, which was 0.3 before. The Ring of Telekinesis now increases your vaulting speed by 10% for the next 10 seconds when using the Mage Hand spell on an upright pallet, which was 8 seconds before. The Ring of Spell Storing add-on decreases the cooldown of all spells by 1 second now, which was 2 seconds before. The Cloak of Elvenkind add-on now decreases terror radius by 22 meters when activating the Fly spell, which is 8 meters before. Holy shit. That's actually crazy. Your terror radius is reduced by 22 meters when flying? Oh my god, dude. Triple what it did before, almost. The Boots of Speed add-on now grants you 3% haste for 2 seconds when casting the Mage Hand, which was 5% haste before. The Staff of Withering now causes exhaustion for 30 seconds to survivors who enter the radius of the Dispelling Sphere, which was 20 seconds before. Got a 10-second buff there, that's nice. The Pearl of Power add-on now decreases the remaining cooldown for your spells by 2 seconds each time you land a basic attack, which was 3 seconds before. The Robe of Eyes add-on now reveals the auras of survivors within 6 meters of a treasure chest for 4 seconds each time you cast a spell, which was 3 seconds before. The Dragon Tooth Dagger add-on now applies hemorrhage and mangled status effects to survivors hit with a basic attack while holding a magic item for 60 seconds, which was 45 seconds before. So that status effect as well, a bit like the exhaustion afflicting one with the Staff of Withering. With this one, you're getting 15 seconds longer of hemorrhage and mangled. So that's neat. That is actually a long time though, like a minute. Finally for the Lich. Oh my god. The Cloak of Invisibility add-on now activates undetectable for 20 seconds each time all your spells are on cooldown at the same time, which was 10 seconds before. Yes, we're getting an extra 10 seconds of undetectable for the twins. Like I said, there's only one. Victor is now able to trigger chases with survivors, which he couldn't do before apparently. He was just undetectable. Yeah, he can now initiate chases, which I would have assumed would just refer to stuff like getting blood points and XP for chases and stuff with him. But actually, upon looking it up, he does now have the chase music as well, which is kind of weird to imagine on Victor. And somebody in the DVD forum actually did make a really good point that this kind of ruins it for Victor, because I do feel like you need the quiet a little bit so you can hear where the survivors are. And now with the chase music being there, it kind of makes it a bit harder to hunt down the survivors. Hey, bro's getting a little bit of equality, I guess, in the fog. My little guy Victor, he's getting something, I guess. Moving on now to killer perks. Starting out, oh my god, there's so many. There are so many. Oh my god. First and foremost, for batteries included, this is the Chucky perk. They've reduced the haste bonus to 5%, which was 7%. They did kind of do like haste changes with the Lich up there as well. But honestly, I'm not really too bothered. Like, you know, they've reduced the haste bonus you get, whatever. And they've increased the area around completed generators to 60 meters from 12. So yeah, you are getting a slightly lower haste bonus, but you are getting an increased range of 4 extra meters around completed gens. So I think that's good. For Call of Brine, they've increased the duration to 7 70 seconds from 60 seconds. Ooh, okay, okay. And they've increased the bonus generator regression to 130, 140, or 150%, which before was 115, 120, or 125%. So that's had quite the buff there. I'm definitely a fan. I don't really use Cold Brine all the time, but when I do use it, it's already kind of strong, I think. Did they nerf it like a year ago or two? I remember them nerfing it at some point, but yeah, they made that better again. Then for Dark Devotion, they've increased the duration of Terror Radius transfer to Obsession to 35, 40, or 45 seconds, which was 20, 25, or 30 seconds before. And they've increased the size of the transferred Terror Radius to 40 meters, which was 32 before, so that's in line with the biggest Terror Radius that exists in the game, being, say, characters like Wesker or Ken Kaneki. So they've made that bigger there, and they've made it last longer too, so that's kind of cool. Then for Hex Retribution, I don't think I really used this, to be honest, but they've increased the oblivious duration caused by Survivor interacting with Doll or Hex totems to 40, 50, or 60 seconds, which was 35, 40, or 45 seconds before, so it's going to last an extra 5, 10, or 15 seconds there, depending on perk rarity. And they've increased the Survivor aura reveal triggered by Hex totem removal to 20 seconds, which was 15 seconds. Then for Machine Learning, which we did slightly mention earlier on with that one slight change they did to Help Wanted, they've decreased the haste value to 8% now, which was 10%, so this seems to be in line again with the haste change they did to batteries included. They've increased the duration to 40, 50, or 60 seconds now, which was 30, 35, or 40 seconds. So you're getting the value just slightly less, but for much longer, 10, 15, or 20 seconds longer than before, depending on your perk rarity. And they updated the text description to match that of Help Wanted. Yeah, like we already mentioned earlier on. Then for Remember Me, they've updated the description to more accurately reflect its in-game effect. That doesn't really give me much context there, but okay. Then for Superior Anatomy, they've increased the area of detection to 12 meters, which was 8 before, and they've decreased the cooldown to 25 seconds, which was 30 seconds. So you're going to get it back 5 seconds quicker than before, and you're going to get an extra 4 meters of length to find, I guess, survivors within your range whilst you're carrying a survivor. So then for Terminus, so yet again, another Wesker perk, they've increased the broken duration once exit gates are open to 35, 40, or 45 seconds, which was 20, 25, or 30 seconds before. So yeah, with every rarity there, you're getting 15 seconds more than you did with the previous iteration. Then with Thrilling Tremors, they've reduced the cooldown to 40, 35, or 30 seconds, which was 180 or 60 seconds. Okay, that's quite a crazy buff there. That last cooldown was pretty mental. Like, that was going from a minute up to almost 2 minutes. And Thrilling Tremors, of course, is the Ghostface perk, which blocks all generators not being currently repaired by survivors after you've picked up a survivor. So yeah, more gen blocking, I guess. That's cool. Then for Thwack, they've increased the reveal area to 36 meters, which was 24. Holy shit. Okay. And that is obviously the aura reveal of survivors within your range when you destroy a pallet. They've also increased the survivor aura reveal to 4, 5, or 6 seconds, which was 3, 4, or 5 seconds before. So you are now getting an extra second of aura reveal, and you're getting it at an extended range from before. So it seems we're just getting a lot of W's here with the perk changes, I can't lie. And finally, for Unbound, they've reduced the haste bonus after vaulting a window to 7%, which was 10% before. So this is a 3% nerf, unfortunately. But yeah, for the most part, these seem to be W changes. Let me know your thoughts on anything here in the comments. Moving on to survivor perks. For Babysitter starting out, they've reduced the haste bonus for the unhooked survivor to 10%, which was 15%. That is pretty bad, but I don't really have too strong of an opinion on that. Then for Botany Knowledge, the healing item efficiency reduction was removed, which was 20% before. Then for Champion of Light, they've decreased the cooldown to 60, 50, or 40 seconds, which was 80, 70, or 60 seconds. So yeah, you're going to get back the perk 20 seconds quicker now than before in all rarities. That's a W. I really like Champion of Light, to be honest. It's a pretty cool perk, so I'm all for that. Then for Counterforce, they've increased the bonus totem cleansing speed to 25%, which was 20% before. So yeah, W for the survivors, I guess. They get to cleanse them a little bit quicker. They've increased the furthest totem aura reveal duration to 10, 12, or 14 seconds, which was 2, 3, or 4 seconds before. Holy crap, that's been increased by 8 seconds there in the yellow rarity, 9 seconds in the green rarity, rarity and 10 seconds in the purple rarity. Okay, that's nice. I guess you can see it for a little bit longer, especially since, like, if you're revealing something that's the furthest away from you, it'll probably be kind of tiny because you're further away from it, so at least it's going to last a little bit longer, so you can maybe have a bit of a better chance of finding it, I guess. And they've increased the stackable totem cleansing speed bonus to 25%, which was 20% before. So yeah, that seems to be a W if you like using that perk. I literally never use this ever. But then for desperate measures, they've increased the scaling bonus speed to healing and unhook actions to 16, 18, or 20%, which was 10, 12, or 14% before. This has received a 6% increase in all rarities. For empathic connection, injured survivors can now see the aura of survivors with empathic connection anywhere on a map, which was 32, 64, or 96 meters before. Which honestly, if there was only like one person on your team who was injured, I feel like it would be kind of unfair that you might not be able to get any value out of that at all if they were to be outside of that limit. So I think that's good now that it's limitless. And they've updated the healing speed bonus to other survivors to 25, 30, and 35% across tiers, which was 30% across all tiers before. But yeah, it's just got a tiered value to it now, which is fair enough, I guess, since they did remove the tiered value from the injured survivor auras. And yeah, with the purple rarity, at least you are still getting 5% more than you would have originally when it was a flat 30%. With the green rarity, you're getting the same as you would have before, and then you're only getting 5% less if you had the yellow rarity, which is probably more of a push for you to actually, you know, upgrade the perk. That at least slightly balances it out with the main change, which obviously is quite a crazy buff. Then moving on to Exaltation, they've increased the item recharge amount for stunning the killer with a pallet to 75%, which was 25%. Holy shit. Okay, I actually really like this perk. I've used it quite a few times in my builds, and the fact that you can now recharge such a huge amount of your item from a pallet stun, that's just gonna like further fuel mine and others killer trolling shenanigans, I guess. Like, we're just gonna want to loop the killer twice as hard now because, hey, you're gonna get even more value out of stunning their ass. So that's kind of cool. I like that. And they've decreased the cooldown as well. Oh my god, they've decreased the cooldown to 30, 25, or 20 seconds, which was 40, 35, or 30 seconds before. So it's now going to be 10 seconds quicker to get this back as well. That is actually insane. Like, this perk is so good now. Like, I mean, it was obviously great before, but like now you're getting so much more value out of your item recharges and you're getting it back faster. Like, what the hell? You can just keep repeating and repeating and repeating the process. And on top of that, with running something like Built to Last, you could be honestly just really deadly in loops for that killer because, I mean, you don't even really need to use Built to Last at this point. Like, you could, but if you run this perk on its own, it's just going to be really good. And then finally, the Light-Footed, they've decreased the cooldown to 14, 12, or 10 seconds, which was 28, 24, or 20 seconds before. So yeah, it's now going to be, what, 14 seconds quicker in the yellow rarity, 12 seconds quicker in the green rarity, and 10 seconds quicker in the purple rarity. Okay, yeah, I've got no issue with that. Faster cooldown, once again. A lot of these perks are just like cooldown changes, which I'm all for. Like, I think that's really sick. And yeah, it just seems like we've had mostly W's here. Of course, if you feel differently, let me know. I love to converse with you guys in the comments. Okay, moving on to emblem updates. So for Lightbringer, performing an invocation now awards 0.8 Lightbringer points per % of progress. Being chased while a teammate performs an invocation now awards 0.4 Lightbringer points per % of progress. Blessing a totem for the first time now awards 50 Lightbringer points. Being chased while a teammate blesses a totem for the first time now awards 25 Lightbringer points. They've increased the Lightbringer points earned when a teammate repairs a generator while you are being chased to 0.5 per % of progress, which was 0.33. So that's slightly better there. They've decreased the Lightbringer points earned for repairing generators to 0.8 per % of progress, which was 1 before. Slight nerf there. They've increased the Lightbringer points earned when other survivors cleanse a dull totem while you are chased to 10, which was 5. Holy crap. And they've increased the Lightbringer points earned when other survivors cleanse a hex totem while you are chased to 25, which was 10. Again, that is a huge buff there. So I don't really care too much about emblem updates. I don't really pay much attention to all that kind of stuff. Maybe I should. I don't know. I'm not like that big of a nerd when it comes to emblems and stuff. I just try to play as good as I can and then just see how quickly I can get to iridescent. And then for Evader, they've increased the Evader points earned after a 15-second chase to 60, which was 25. Oh my god. So if you just keep that chase going for only 15 seconds, which isn't really that hard unless you're really ass at the game, like if you keep that going, you're like gonna get so much more points out of this, which I feel like is only gonna encourage the survivors who just constantly flash harass you and try to get you to chase them the whole game, the ones who try to distract you from the rest of the teammates, they're going to be having a blast with this change, I'm sure, because they're going to be getting so many more evader points. They've increased the evader chase multiplier at 10 meters to 1 times, which was 0.6 times, so that's been buffed, and they've decreased the evader chase multiplier at 6 meters to 1 times, which was 1.2 times, so slightly nerfed there. But as a whole, I don't really have too many thoughts on this. Again, I don't pay attention to emblems and stuff. I just kind of play the game. I'm not like ultra fixated on small things like that. But yeah, this will definitely help. If you're just good at the game in general, I feel like these two things will just come naturally, like the Lightbringer and evader points you'll just be stacking up just naturally from being good, and I guess maybe that will help you progress your rank each season quicker now. Right, moving on now to quest rewards. They've increased the daily quest blood points rewards, which says 2,500 to 5,000 in brackets. Okay, so yeah, you're gonna get more blood points for doing the daily quest. That's cool. Then for the map showcase, they've added, of course, a new map game mode that allows for players to queue up for a single predetermined map. That is great, of course, so people can test them out, and so that people have a 100% chance that they will get that realm, they'll get that map, and they can show it off, whether they're just playing it with their friends, playing it on their own, just for the sake of seeing what it looks like, or if they're trying to do what I do, which is showcasing it for a video. I think that is very useful, and I'm so glad they added that. And then finally, for this massive-ass girthy update, you have the Hellraiser DLC Changes. Now, we already know about this. I made a whole video on the Hellraiser chapter being removed. If you haven't checked that out, go check that out too. Little plug, I guess. I will pop up a card above if you want to go watch that video. But yeah, we've already been over this on the channel, but I'll just read it anyway. So regarding that chapter, the following perks have become general perks now, and their names and icons have been changed, much like what happened with Demogorgon when he was removed before he came back. So Deadlock is now called No Holds Barred. Hex Plaything is now Hex Fortune's Fool. Okay, and then Scourge Hook Gift of Pain is now Scourge Hook Weeping Wounds. Interesting names, I guess. The following achievements or trophies have been updated, and their names, icons, and unlock conditions have been changed. So Tear Their Soul Apart is now Beyond Broken, which is where you injure a survivor afflicted by the broken status effect with a basic attack a total of 50 times. And then Punch Drunk is now Neither Seen Nor Heard, and this is where you apply the Oblivious status effect to survivors 30 times in public matches. And then Adept Cenobite is now Lost All Hope, which is when you down a survivor within the bounds of any exit gate. So that is all we have there, but all the video's over already. No, not so fast. We did get additional changes, like I said earlier in the video, to the AFK Crows, and we did get some changes to the animatronic too. So starting out with 9.0.1 for the AFK Crows, they've increased the intervals at which AFK Crows are gained to 120, 140, or 180 seconds, which was 60, 75, or 90 seconds. Okay, I'm not even surprised they did that. When I was reading that, I was kind of thinking, you know, like, what the fuck? But yeah, they're now gained at longer intervals compared to before. They've increased the grace period before AFK points start accruing to 30 seconds, which is 10 seconds. Thank God. They've decreased the rate at which AFK points accrue while moving to 25%, which is 50%. Okay, that's good. So even whilst you're moving and, you know, you're not interacting with stuff, but you're still moving around, they've halved that there, so that's good. They've decreased the rate at which AFK points accrue after exit gates are powered to 25%. This is a new thing they've added on. Before, the system would be disabled upon the endgame collapse being triggered, which obviously would include when opening an exit. Whilst now the system isn't disabled once the exits are powered, it's still present, but it'll operate at the same rate as you now gain AFK points while moving, which of course is 25%, which used to be 50%. And they've reset AFK points upon completing interactions, which previously removed 60 AFK points. Okay, so it completely like hard resets back to 0 again. So really, you could probably just abuse this by doing the bare minimum. You don't even have to really fully complete an interaction like a generator, which takes a long time and dedication. You could just go do something like cleanse a totem or open a chest to reset the system, and then you could just go back into being AFK again. So it's a little bit redundant, but honestly, I prefer this way more over just deducting 60 points, because like that means you'd have to keep doing interactions to try and bring your meter down, which I think was kind of stupid. Yeah, this is much more preferable, obviously, but again, it kind of comes with that gray area of people being able to work around it if they wanted to. Okay, moving on now to the animatronics. So they have done a bunch of changes. These are to the base kit though, I believe. So they've adjusted the color of your current door position when operating the security cameras as a survivor to improve the aura color distinction. They've adjusted the following score events for the animatronics. So Gotham now awards deviousness points, which before was brutality. When Gotham triggers, a regular hit score event will also trigger that awards 300 brutality points, which is new. Yoink now awards deviousness points, which was brutality before. When Yoink triggers, a regular hit score event will also trigger that awards 300 brutality points now, which is new. Another one now awards deviousness points, which was Hunter before. And Look at You now awards deviousness points, which was Hunter before as well. They've also added score events for survivors facing the animatronic. So Say Cheese awards 700 boldness points upon revealing the killer through a security camera, which is new. Do It Yourself awards 350 survival points upon self-removing an attached fire axe, which is also new. Friend in Need awards 500 altruism points upon participating in a co-op action to remove an attached fire axe from a fellow survivor, which is new as well. And then Door to Door awards 100 survival points upon entering a security door, which is also new. So yeah, they've just added a couple more like points and stuff there to playing as and playing against the animatronic, okay? And then this kind of goes without saying, you guys know at this point, but for events, the 9th anniversary Twisted Masquerade event returns Thursday, June 26th at 11 a.m. Eastern. I will be covering that very soon, guys. Now, considering how long it's probably going to take me just to edit this video alone, it might be a while, guys, before that comes out, so apologies. But then again, the Masquerade event always lasts for ages. Like, I swear it lasts for like 3 weeks or some shit, so I have plenty of time to cover it. Of course, there isn't exactly a huge rush, but it would be best to get it covered as soon as possible. As soon as this video goes up, I will be working on an anniversary video, guys. Okay, and finally, moving on to 9.0.2, we only have a couple of changes here, and they are, again, just to the animatronics add-ons, a bit like what they did with the ETB to live changes. So 2 of these, like I mentioned earlier in the video, were tweaked again since then, and that was Bonnie's guitar strings and Foxy's hook, and then we have 4 others which have been newly changed. So starting out with the security guard's badge, they decreased the effect to 25% from 50%, so that's been halved. This add-on is the one where upon exiting a security door after teleporting to it, you get an extended duration of undetectable status effect. The base undetectable that you get when you exit a security door is 20 seconds. So with the previous edition of this add-on, you would get an extra 10 seconds, since obviously 50% of the base amount is 10, meaning that your total would be 30 seconds when coming through a door. But now you're getting only 5 seconds extra, since you're getting half of what you did before. Kind of an L. They then changed the streamers add-on, where they decreased the effect to 15% from 20%. This add-on affects when you travel through security doors, and you basically benefit from a increased movement speed, which during the PTB was 20%, now it's 15%. It's just the movement speed when traveling between doors, which isn't that slow to begin with. As long as this doesn't get nerfed again, then I'm not really too bothered about this. Then for the party hat, they increased the duration to minus 20%, which was minus 50% before. This add-on is where when your fire axe is embedded in the environment, it would increase the area of effect to 250% over a span of 3 seconds, which is actually still the same. And then it would reduce the duration of the area of effect by 50%. Now it reduces the duration of the area of effect by 20%. So yeah, this is great. The base duration of the fire axe's area of effect is 15 seconds. So with this add-on, it's only being reduced now to 12 seconds. Whilst before, it would reduce your overall area of effect to 7.5 seconds, which really didn't last a long time. So I'm very glad they've done that, to be honest. For Bonnie's guitar strings, they've decreased the undetectable duration to minus 100% now, which was minus 50% during 9.0.0. So now there's, what, no undetectable at all? That is wild. Anyway, moving on to Foxy's hook, of course. They increased the duration to 6 seconds again, which was 3 seconds. Honestly, I'm all for that. I don't know why they reduced that to 3 seconds. That was so stupid. But yeah, once again, you will get the 7% haste for 6 seconds. Obviously, this refers to the effect lingering once you've left the area of effect. And then finally, they changed Endo CPU, where they now increased the break speeds to 40%, which was 25%. That is, wow, okay, that's cool. So that's had a 15% buff there. And this, of course, takes effect when you are within the area of effect of the embedded fire axe. So yeah, we get to end on a positive note there, which is nice. Yeah, that is all the changes we had to go over today, guys. That was insanely long to record. I am tired. I feel like my brain is just clouding right now. And honestly, honestly, I don't want to look at my monitor anymore. I've been here for ages. Drop a comment, let me know what you guys think on any of the changes discussed in this video. Do you agree with me on anything? Do you disagree with me on anything? I love talking to you guys. For the most part, those have been really great. We've had some actually awesome updates in there. I can't even lie to you guys. So it's definitely been one of the better updates, I would say, in a while. If you guys enjoyed the video, or if somehow it was informative, I know this is a little bit late now by the time you guys will be seeing this, but please drop me a like down below to let me know. It really helps the video out in the algorithm. Also, if you haven't done so already, be sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on post notifications next to it so you never miss a single video of mine. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you managed to make it to the end, then you're a real one. I shall catch you all very soon with a new video. Goodbye.